Salute. Your boy Gamble Kiyosuke back here with another one, here to talk about Kemba Walker, Bronx native, former Charlotte Hornets point guard, as well as the Boston Celtics, and even the OKC Thunder for a brief time. A guy who agreed to a contract buyout with the OKC Thunder, giving up $20 million in the process to sign a 2-year, $16 million deal with the Knicks. This is a guy who's believed to be the answer for the Celtics back in 2019. However, knee issues have been hindering his game, holding him back. Knee issues have been there since 2015 after his meniscus tear. Now, Kemba Walker will definitely provide the Knicks with some above-average point guard play, something we've been missing for the past few years. But how far can Kemba Walker's knee lead us this season? I'm going to go over the positives and negatives in this next slide. Guy still has solid pick-and-roll prowess, a guy who can eat and score triple threat from that scheme. It's a guy who also has solid catch and shoot and perimeter shooting ability, something that the Knicks need at that point guard position. His ability to concede to teammates, something that we saw Kemba Walker do really well his first year in Boston, as Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's game seemed to complement and grow under the point guard play of Kemba Walker. Overall playmaking, a guy who can use an attacking ability to facilitate to guys open out on the wing or guys rolling to the basket. Familiarity with Fournier is another big plus. Now, some of Kemba Walker's negatives, the arthritic knee. How well can he and Tom Thibodeau and the staff control and manage it throughout the season and hopefully into the playoffs? Diminished attacking ability. As good of a playmaker as Kemba Walker has been, there are some numbers to suggest that he may be starting to diminish in that area regarding his attacks to the basket and his isolation play and defensive liability. We'll talk about it. Even though there are some positives regarding his defense, at 6'1", Kemba Walker will definitely be a downgrade to what we had at the guard position last season with Elfrid, Payton, and Reggie Bullock at the other guard or wing position. So before we get to the positives, we got to talk about Kemba Walker's injury back in 2015. Now, in 2015, he tore his meniscus and had surgeries in both 2015 and 2016. In 2016, the surgery was to scope out and trim out more of the lateral meniscus, and then he had a minor orthoscopic surgery in 2017. Now, the issue with the meniscus surgery is that in order to address the tear, doctors have to remove part of the meniscus, making it smaller, and in turn, bringing the joint surfaces of the knee closer, which messes with the mechanics of the knee and can cause the cartilage that coats the bone to thin out, leading to the arthritis that we see in Kemba Walker today. To combat this, Kemba Walker started taking hyaluronic acid, aka HA injections, in the form of a brand called Synvisic. The material, HA, is naturally found in joints with healthy cartilage and is meant to make existing cartilage in a damaged knee more healthy. This treatment, better known as the Kobe treatment after he had it done to his own knee, has also been utilized by players such as Andrew Bynum. And although the effect is temporary, the injections are believed to be effective in providing pain relief and allowing better function to the actual knee itself. Unfortunately, many people who resorted to these injections are believed to have had osteoarthritis, which is a degenerative condition that doesn't get better over time and seems to worsen. And the only thing you can really do is try to manage or strengthen the area around the knee itself. And despite the treatments, Kemba has missed 16 games in his first and the NBA bubble shortened season with the Celtics and only averaged 31.1 minutes a game, which was his lowest since his rookie season. And in 2020-2021, he missed 29 games out of the 72, dealing with both knee and rib injuries throughout the season. According to Bill Simmons, and as written in the Strickland, before the 2019-2020 season, Kemba didn't complete the rehab assignments that were established by the team and Danny Ainge, although he played in all the 17 postseason games, averaging 19.6 points on 44% shooting from the field, 31% from three, to go along with 5.1 assists and 4.1 rebounds a night, averaging 37 minutes a game, ultimately losing to the Heat in 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Kemba's lack of adherence to Danny Ainge's plan seemed to further degrade their relationship, and Ainge himself stated that he regretted bringing Kemba back too fast in the bubble. Kemba's performance in the 2020-2021 playoffs took a noticeable dip relative to the previous year, as he only averaged 12.7 points on 32% shooting from the field, 17% from three, to go on with 4 assists and 4 rebounds in only 30 minutes a game, while missing the last 2 games in the Brooklyn Nets series after suffering a bone bruise on that troubled left knee. So after being acquired by the Knicks this offseason, Kemba Walker stated that all he needed was some rest and some time to get the knee right, which kind of runs contrary to what he said and did on his first year in Boston. And given the fact that arthritic knees do not get better, Tom Thibodeau will have to devise a plan, a day on, day off kind of scheme for Kemba Walker to make sure he's right, to give him the proper rest, make sure the wear and tear is not getting to him so they can preserve him for the season and hopefully for the playoffs. And you have a plethora of guards to utilize, guys like my son Deuce McBride, aka Miles McBride, who fits that defensive ilk with some offensive upside, as well as IQ, Derrick Rose. Fournier can play more on the ball. RJ Barrett can play more on the ball. So there's a plethora of options Tom Thibodeau has. But Kemba Walker himself is still an offensively capable guard. A guy who's above average compared to what we've had for seasons. So let's get to the positives. The first positive I want to get to is Kemba Walker's ability in the pick and roll sets. Despite Kemba Walker's knee issues and waning explosiveness, Kemba Walker still did an excellent job of executing in the pick and roll. And although he fell from the 90th percentile in his first year in Boston to the 66th in his second year in Boston, he was still a deadly option from the scheme. Whether it was a perimeter shot, where Walker did a great job of popping the three-pointer immediately off the screen, something the Knicks did not have last season with Elfrid, Payton, or many of the point guard and wing options outside of Reggie Bullock. On the mid-range, we flashed an ability to get deeper into the free space that not only the role provided, but also the help defender's fear of getting beat afforded him in order to get the space and hit that mid-range shot. This is something that only guard Derrick Rose provided consistently off of screens last season. Let's hope he can repeat his mid-range game from his first year in Boston, where he shot around 50% in the long mid-range. Or lastly, his actual attack at the rim, once he's able to create space off the screen and flash that patented hesitation dribble, where he's able to exploit the defender's missteps. And let's not skim over some of his more nuanced playmaking off of the pick and roll or the screen game. For instance, the Celtics ran a scheme called 1-1, which is a similar but very aggressive form of the Horns play that Tom Thibodeau ran last season, where you have your two bigs at the high post, you have two guards or wings playing deep in the corners. And Kemba was very adept at exploiting this scheme once he got an angle off of one of the screeners. Many times it wasn't about Kemba Walker making the assist itself, but the hockey assist, where he'll make the pass to Daniel Tice, who'll make a pass out to the guy on the perimeter for the three-point shot. But then Kemba Walker will make that pass to Daniel Tice, who'll then take a step and a shot at the foul line, something I could see Julius Randle doing next season in the Horns play that Tom Thibodeau runs. So even with the bum knee, you saw Kemba Walker's best playmaking off of those screens or those pick and roll plays that the Celtics ran the past 2 seasons he was there. And I can see the same impact occurring for the Knicks, especially with all the catch and shoot weapons we have this season, as well as the guys who can slip to the basket, such as Julius Randle. Now, let's get to the next positive, which is Kemba Walker's catch and shoot ability and his overall perimeter shooting. Now, Kemba Walker last season shot 36% from 3, which is fairly solid, but is better than what we had last season and guys like Elfrid Payton who couldn't shoot worth a lick from outside. And he was actually solid in catch and shoots, generating an effective field goal percentage of 61.2% and ranking in the 77th percentile for catch and shoots. There is a slight caveat to this, as he shot poorly in guarded catch and shoots last season, ranking the 14th percentile, despite ranking fairly well in his first year in Boston. And this may stem from his lingering knee issues, where the arthritis might be screwing with his jumping mechanics and timing. But as a catch and shoot artist, especially unguarded ones, he's still a viable weapon who could play off of other ball handlers like RJ Barrett and Evan Fournier, or even Derrick Rose and Burks off the bench. And given the pistol action the Knicks love to run, Kemba should see plenty of off-ball opportunities on the opposite wing of the screen and drives, where he's been proficient the past 2 seasons from those wing positions. The only real negative to this is that Kemba Walker really isn't a corner three-point shooter, which somewhat alienates him from Tibbs' heavy corner three-point philosophy. But Kemba's ability to play off the ball opposite of on-ball action on the other side should diversify the Knicks' offense, as well as take pressure off of Kemba Walker's knee. Another fact that'll be a major plus for the Knicks this season will be Kemba's overall playmaking. His playmaking out of the pick and roll and screen game was briefly discussed, but as an attacking point guard and very similar to Derrick Rose, Kemba does an excellent job of drawing defenses in with his attacking or the threat of attacking, and has done a solid job of seeing the open man on the roll or out on the perimeter. Kemba is a very slick passer who can thread the tight spaces, especially off the pick and roll, something we haven't seen in years. I expect Kemba's attacking style of facilitating to benefit perimeter and catch and shoot weapons in RJ Barrett, Evan Fournier, and even Emmanuel Quickly, while creating opportunities for cutting and rolling paint options like Mitch or even Julius Randle. The ability to draw initial pressure away from key players to find easy passes later in the sequence will be a major weapon for the Knicks this season. The next positive, which I think is an underrated ability of Kemba Walker's, is to actually be a good leader and concede to his teammates and help them develop. Now, in his first season in Boston, I think Kemba Walker did a better job, was a better fit for that team than Kyrie Walker was, despite the fact that Kyrie Walker is a more talented player than Kemba Walker and had the championship pedigree with his time in Cleveland. During Kyrie's time in Boston, the Celtics weren't able to find cohesion amongst a talented team filled with both Tatum and Brown, along with guys like Marcus Morris, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, and a still productive Al Horford. You would think a guard of Kyrie's ilk, experience, and overwhelming talent would be able to find a way to make it work, but he resorted to an ISO-heavy style many times and tried several machinations that didn't work, such as odd comments on his teammates or going back and forth on his future commitment with the team. The amount of individual talent may have been too much to lead or direct for Kyrie, but his eccentric attitude and largely individual play at times seems to have limited that team's potential. Kemba seemed to be the opposite in his first year in Boston, and both Tatum and Brown enjoyed major jumps in production, as Kemba was able to seamlessly fit into Brad Stevens' offense, which balances one-on-one attacking and finding open teammates via a healthy share of ball movement. And for some statistics, Kyrie Irving went ISO 13.2% of the time in his last year in Boston, ranking in the 74th percentile offensively, while Kemba went roughly half that at 6.7% of the time, ranking in 84th percentile. Regarding system basketball, Kyrie Irving utilized the pick and roll 29.4% of the time, while Kemba utilized it 48.5% of the time. These stats aren't the end-all be-all, but I presume that teammates that have to play with an ISO-heavy style point guard would have to do more to inject themselves into the offense than those that play with a pick-and-roll type of point guard. We could find guys on the perimeter, the roll man, or find secondary guys cutting to the basket once he attacks off the pick. Given his time with Steve Clifford in Charlotte, a Van Gundy apprentice and similar coach to Tom Thibodeau, I expect Kemba Walker to take to Tibbs' coaching and direction well and work within his abilities to make the guys around him better or more effective on that play and not do too much, especially given his knee injury. Speaking of accommodating teammates, Kemba's experience with Evan Fournier should definitely help hasten the chemistry on this Knicks team and should be a big positive given the expectations this team has as well as all the new pieces that will be added in this season. Last season, in a limited time in Boston, the Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker combination put up a net rating of plus 13.9, which is good for 98th percentile in the league, and 120.2 points per 100 possessions, which was good for 93rd in the league. The two-man tandem displayed solid complementary play, as Evan Fournier many times found cutting lanes that fed off of Kemba Walker's dribble drive penetration and facilitation. And Kemba on the flip side executed on the perimeter off of Fournier's ball movement. As said earlier, this familiarity bodes extremely well for the Knicks, given all the new pieces. And if Kemba can execute within Tibbs' schemes while making Fournier's 45% field goal percentage and 38% three-point percentage for his career translate into winning basketball on the court, Kemba might be our most impactful guard since Jason Kidd's 2012-2013 season under the Knicks, and maybe even more than that. So let's get to some of the more concerning negatives, and one of them has to do with his knee and age issues, more specifically his isolation and attacking ability. Now, last year in the playoffs, you saw it a lot regarding the lack of explosiveness from Kemba Walker. Playoffs last season, he averaged about 12.7 points, 31% from the field, and 17% from three. These were all career lows for Kemba Walker. But during the 2020-2021 regular season, it was no better as he struggled to recover adequately from his knee and rib injuries. To be more specific, during last year's regular season, Kemba sported a free throw draw rate of only 22% and attacked the rim only 20% of all his possessions, both which were the lows of his career. He did generate an elite 69% at the rim and a free throw percentage of 90%, but what good are those numbers if he can't make defenders pay? And his isolation numbers were significantly worse over his 2 seasons in Boston, going from the 84th percentile in his first year in Beantown to the 27th percentile in his last year, only going 9 for 37 in isolation plays. And the Knicks can use this production. As a team that was lacking an elite closer, especially at the end of games, the Knicks were the second worst team in fourth quarters regarding field goal percentage. To dig a little deeper, let's talk about Kemba Walker's performances in the fourth quarter last season. Last year, Kemba Walker actually played more minutes compared to the first season in Beantown, but he generated less points, a significantly lower field goal percentage, and a lower net rating, which can be a telltale sign if his knee continues to suffer this season. When healthy, Kemba Walker is still our best option, given his hesitation dribble, ability to shoot off the dribble, ability to finish at the basket. And yes, you have guys like Derrick Rose, Julius Randle, and even Evan Fournier, but when healthy, Kemba Walker is our best option compared to all those guys. So we will see this season, and every team needs an elite bucket getter, or every elite team has one. Kemba Walker is probably our best option. Granted, we do have more weapons on this team this season, but given his resume and what we've seen in years prior, even going back to college, Kemba Walker is still our best option. But with Tom Thibodeau try to get as much production from him early in certain games, and then maybe still need a guy like Kemba Walker because the rest of the team can't carry us, remains to be seen, but that knee issue will definitely be the big question mark this season, because if we thought that Derrick Rose was a so-called ticking time bomb last season, given minutes and his overall health and usage, then what the hell is Kemba Walker? One more glaring weakness is Kemba Walker's defense. Now, at 6'1", he can only really guard one position, which is the point guard position. But I will say this, last season, teamed up with Evan Fournier in Boston, in a limited sample size, they did sport a better points per 100 possessions allowed, effective field goal percentage allowed, turnover percentage, and free throw draw rate allowed compared to Elfrid, Payton, and Reggie, Bullock. But it's a limited sample size, and let's be honest, Reggie, Bullock, and Elfrid, Payton are a better defensive pairing compared to Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier over a whole season. So I can't really compare the two because it's just comparing apples and oranges. In isolation, Kemba ranked poorly in the 27th percentile. And given his knee issues, the added pressure to cut back and forth with a quick guard or possibly be stuck in post-up positions may create even more health issues this upcoming season. But to Kemba's credit, he ranked well against the pick-and-roll ball handlers and against spot-up shots, which is a natural weak spot in Tom Thibodeau's help-the-helper defense. Kemba is also an elite charge drawer, coming in second in the league at .51 charges average last season with Boston. So the big question is, how much would Tom Thibodeau have to compromise from, say, his front court, using guys like Mitchell Robinson or Julius Randle to hedge hard or to double team and be more aggressive to offset the lack of defensive prowess you're going to have with the pairing in Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker? What will Tom Thibodeau do to offset? Now, granted, Kemba Walker fares really well in the spotters, which is a weak spot of help defense, but overall, the defense is made to protect that middle, stop drives to the basket. And Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, despite the fact that Kemba Walker is actually going to pick and roll, he's going to be compromised many times. When he's in these isolated situations, how many times do you have to see the double team or guys have to step up to account for Kemba Walker's lack of natural defensive ability? So we will see this season, but I'm expecting that backcourt defense to definitely take a step back compared to what we had last season. I expect Tom Thibodeau to find a way to control Kemba Walker's minutes, playing him with the starting unit and utilize him heavily in the pick and roll and catch and shoot spots off of Fournier, RJ Barrett, and Randle from the post. I also expect Kemba Walker to be a playmaker similar to Derrick Rose. We can utilize a Horns play to kick out to the roll man or keep his dribble until he finds a flashing player in the paint or kick it out to the opposite wings. I project an average of 13 to 15 points a game given all the weapons he'll be playing with in the starting lineup, 44% shooting from the field, 36% from the three-point line, and about 5 assists a game. The best lineups for Kemba Walker would probably include a combination of Fournier, who could play on and off the ball, and Randle as a big man, who could play in a pick and roll and serve as a catch and shoot weapon off of Kemba's passing. On Julius Randle, it'll be interesting to see how he and Kemba Walker hold up, because Julius Randle is probably the most versatile and possibly the most offensively gifted or talented, whatever you want to say, player, big man, that Kemba Walker will be playing with this season. No offense to Vucevic, no offense to Gobert, but it is what it is. Julius Randle's ability to play on and off the dribble, play in the post up, be able to play in the pick and roll, be able to play in the pick and pop. Kemba Walker will definitely have many opportunities to exploit Julius Randle's versatility this season. On the flip side, Julius Randle in the post up to be able to kick out to the opposite wing will definitely provide Kemba Walker a lot of catch and shoot opportunities. When healthy, Kemba Walker is a plus multiplier for this team. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But everything this season is predicated on that knee. How will he hold up? Kemba Walker, let's be honest, like I said, in that first year with the Celtics, those key guys took a big step up in production. But next year wasn't as chalked up as it was promised to be, given his knee injury. So we will definitely see this season. But guys, let me know what you think. Am I being too harsh on Kemba Walker? My projections too low? Are we getting that old school Kemba of UConn fame, Rice High School, all that goodness? I don't think we are going to get that. But a smarter, still capable Kemba Walker does wonders for our backcourt compared to what we've had in the past with Elfrid, Payton, and salute to Ramon Sessions, man. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments down in the comment section. Make sure to leave a like before you leave. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the dark notification bell. It's your boy Game Skate, Legion of Knicks. I do this. That was mad corny, but peace, salute, God bless. We out.